Hey everybody, raw food and the raw vegan police showing up. We are going to talk about what it is like when you are a raw vegan and the raw food police show up. Hey JJ.
Hey, how are you? Woo, woo, woo. Here comes
That's
the
what
raw
it's
vegan
like.
police. We need the sound effects, right?
I'm glad we're finally getting to this topic. I was just bringing up some points at the end of my last live saying, can you imagine you have completely changed your life by going whole food, plant-based, high raw, vegan, raw vegan. There's all different like ways to do it. And you post your salad and someone tells you you are basically killing yourself and ruining your health because you've combined some foods or something is technically cooked and there you are thinking, so proud and you're being destroyed. That's like kind of the scenario I'm setting up because I see it so much. And then I had the comment saying, I just posted me eating a watermelon and was told to throw it away because it didn't have seeds in it. And I'm like, it gets like that. I feel like I got to a point in my healing journey where I was only eating watermelon because I felt so guilty about everything else I posted because there was oxalates in it. There's something in something's skin. I've combined something too wrong. I'm eating too early. I'm eating too late. And then you eat the watermelon. Then I'm in trouble now because there's no seeds. I'm like, what am I supposed to eat?
I know, right? I mean, and that's what it'll do to you. Like, I could
It
hear as
will.
you were building it up because, at first we were talking like we have to worry about the people that are in our, previous life, like people that don't know what that haven't learned the situation or been in the situation we're in trying to heal or haven't learned about raw food and the power of them. And I had a comment the other day on my YouTube. It was actually Instagram. I had shared that. I don't know if you saw it. It was like a picture. It said JJ's menu, and it was like a Polaroid spitting out pictures of my fruit and my salad over and over. And he said, how in the world are you getting nutrients with only fruits and vegetables? Or something like that. Like, these are the comments we're talking about. And had I been like in my first, day or week or month even of this, I would have been like, wait, these don't have it. And then it gets you all, confused. But it's almost like really where you have to bring that confidence back in what you're doing and realizing that when people aren't on the same page as you or haven't gotten to a level of consciousness, as I say, or learned something new that you've learned, they're people like people to do what they do, so sometimes people don't know how to handle that and they're coming off, rude or just saying things that they believe maybe even to be true but are not true. And when we look at this as beginners, we should be very like encouraging to each other. Like, there is no reason to comment on what someone has if they're healthy meal if they're trying to get healthier, you know. Amen. There's the cat again.
Oh, I
Yes,
think,
right, she agrees with me here.
yeah, I think even, look, I am all for posting pictures, sharing information, and someone going, I used to do a salad like that, but I found switching nuts for avocados helped my health. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And then it makes you think, is that something you want to do? But when somebody comes on and knows nothing about the 44 years behind my life, nothing about what my day is like, nothing about, we can't really, you can't really know everything about somebody, and then tells me I'm doing something wrong, nobody really has a right to. And I think it all stems from everything in life is acidic. Like whether you water fast or dry fast or whether you eat, you're causing the body, because the body's job is to assimilate, get rid of, assimilate, get rid of. But if you're constantly focusing on the getting rid of and not the assimilating part, you end up with a toxic thought pattern. And there's two things here. It's about, like, I guess I don't feel like this conversation can be as much about, we don't want to be, we can state what people are doing, but I don't think it's the people here listening that are doing this. I think the people
Mhm.
here listening are like, how do we cope with this? What do we do? Because it does get really messy. And I feel like it even gave me disordered eating the more I got into it, just because of that. But I think one really important factor is eating is acidic. Exercise is acidic. You're metabolizing acids. Doesn't mean exercise is bad and doesn't mean eating's bad. But it's just to be mindful of that, is that people are jumping on. There's a whole picture, a whole chemistry. There's so much that goes on in when you eat something. It's about these people projecting basically their blocks. Like that's their, in my thoughts is that's a they problem. But it is about how do people cope when you get bombarded, especially when you're first trying to gain your confidence, right? When you've been doing this a while, you get used to there's different types of people messages. So people should know that they've been like in my brain, they've been classified into people who are like my friends, who are like constantly giving. And that's people like, you know, I can see Tessa on here. Tessa and I, you know, Tessa's she'll give me like what she does, you know, and like that's amazing. But then there's people who just are like projecting negativity. Then there's people who are naive, and that's like what I see like most people fall into. But when you first start, it really is, you know, that's what I think the conversation is about. Hey, Wanda.
Hey, Wanda. Wanda, Laurie is in my group, and she is doing amazing on her. She's a raw vegan beginner. And Tessa, you're always so encouraging too. So we definitely have all, and Wanda's always so kind. And like
beautiful Jules. I haven't heard from Jules in ages.
Hi. I didn't even see you pop in there. It's on Facebook. That's why it didn't stand out as much, because I saw the red, I think. Yeah. Hi, Jules. And I think it has to do with what we talk about a lot on here is addition before subtraction, becoming in love with the raw food. And I think some people have a different version in their mind of how they learn something, you know, and it all comes down to, like, I guess, like you said, that some people have a set of rules, and it actually, that restriction can deter you from being successful on your raw vegan diet. Because in the beginning, especially, it's really important to find foods you like, find foods that are fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whatever combinations that are making you feel amazing. And that is really what this diet is all about. It, like, also, you don't know, like you just mentioned, it was a great thing that you said, like, you don't know how you may have been eating in your, you know, previous diet. Like maybe I was someone who was eating burgers and steaks every day, and today I decided to have a whole bowl of guacamole, and then you have the police coming underneath and being like, that's too much fat, you know. But like, okay, well, yesterday I was having soda and cheeseburgers, like, you know, or vegan burgers. It's like amazing that we should, you know, and we don't have unfortunately, we need the kindness police, right? So we can come by and and that's how it is inside of certain communities. And we've talked about that. Find a community that you feel encouraging. You can't help, sometimes there's going to be a comment here or there, but you can tell by how it's admin that they try to do the best they can to not, like clickbait engagement type things that are gonna cause, you know, confusion. I think it's very important that we keep these, especially beginner communities, like I know you do and I do, we keep it very encouraging if we can help it or see it.
Yeah, and especially I feel like the community that I'm being drawn to build, and it's just forming naturally, is all people who are in balance. Like I don't know any raw vegan that's, you know, you've got like you and Marabella, and there's Lissa, and who else is there? There's Kiko, and all of these sort of people are in what I call a balance, which is they do what works for them, and that's kind of it. Like it's what works for them. There's no rule book that states that there's all things that are problematic. And even like a conversation where at the Women's Health podcast where Lisa's added in ashwagandha to help support her
Dawn
hormones.
has that too.
Oh, great. And I've actually seen comments where it's, well, that's technically cooked or something. And it's like, well, the woman's not out here taking like full-blown drugs to support herself.
Right.
Like then there's a whole nother level of conversation going on. Even if she did, that's her choice.
And that's what we started saying. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm delayed.
It's just like I think you have to just, as long as you believe in what's doing right. But I think I was getting back to, I'm trying to build a community where people believe in what they're doing. You know, if someone's eating whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, you're doing amazing. Like, you're absolutely doing amazing. And as long as you know that, because man, I don't think you can write anything on the internet these days without police showing up. But yes, I'm trying to build a community where people feel so safe to share, because the more information we come together to share, I think the healthier I am. I learn just as much off people commenting who share what they've done. I just did like something on my thyroid, and Koala Mama gave me a whole lot of her information on it. And that's great. But when somebody doesn't give you any information or what they learn, because usually to learn, you have to fall. It's fall first, pick yourself up. If they just come out and go, you're wrong, you're doing this, what does that teach me?
Right.
You have to remember, the person's not even really teaching you anything. They're more just coming at you.
How can you learn that way? And that's not a good environment. It makes more people run the other way than it makes them continue their raw diet. And that's why it's like it's like counterproductive. And I was saying in our group, we started saying, and I started posting raw inspired. And I love what you said about the ashwagandha, because you're going to find things I call not raw by mistake, or even if that's what you have to do that evening to get through, and you have a whole food plant-based meal and you're coming from, trying to heal. And it's like, there's no reason to ever feel bad about yourself when you are trying to do the best that to do at that moment for yourself. As long as you're being kind to yourself and loving yourself, there are no rules here. I think that's what I love about Raw Inspired, because you'll get that comment, those nuts are not really raw, even if they say raw, but how is that helping me as a beginner? I mean, you can say it in such a way that's great that you're eating those nuts, or, at least present it in a way that is encouraging, I think is so important. But I know we're all different. So the important thing is that your mindset as a beginner is strong enough to know that you have a community of people that are out here cheering for you, encouraging you, and helping you along to make this lifestyle something you love, not something you hate or want to run from, or feel like everyone's, judging or preaching to you. And I just think it's so important to know that you're doing something excellent that so many people have never, like, even if they know about it, they won't even try. So, and hi, Michelle, Matt, Laurie, everybody. I don't know. I think I keep mentioning people over and over. I'm excited. We have so many people here. I couldn't see comments last week. I thought no one loved me until afterwards.
I actually feel like, to do what I do, I often feel I predefine what raw veganism means to me, just to help me when I have to face comments that do come up. Now, and this is totally me. This is not, I don't even put this on anybody else. Each person needs to make a decision as to what raw is, high raw is, whole food, plant-based, because each person, each culture, each place is going to have a different interpretation of that. But for me, when I did no nuts and seeds, I did nothing from a packet, no supplements, mostly fruit, pretty much just fruit, including at night was just savory fruits. To me, looking back, although I call myself raw vegan, was probably more fruitarian, frugivore. Now, what I classify as a raw vegan is eating food in its rawest form. That's my classification for me. It doesn't mean that that's anybody else's definition, but for me, everything that comes in a packet has had heat applied to a level where bacteria and mold and fungus do not grow. So technically you could say that's at a cooked level, but what I say is it's the world we live in. We dip mangoes. You can't put mangoes out without being dipped in heat, because flies attack it. Now, can we not eat mangoes? It's not that it's not raw. It's just food in its rawest form in the world we live in is what I like to call it, including that today I made it on live. I made a big chocolate smoothie with a whole lot of powders and amino acids added. And I said very clearly, I don't make this very often. This isn't something I actually have, but about every 2 to 3 months, my body, if I've been doing a lot of training or been through something, it will want like a smoothie, because I don't digest them as well. Without having something, you think smoothies would be good, but they seem to sometimes run through me a bit too fast. It's, people on a raw food diet will take supplements, vitamins, herbs. Your herbs, if they are able to be in a container, have been heated enough that things aren't growing on them. You can't just dry it. Things will still eat it. But I will do this because my body needs nutrients. Doesn't mean I'm not raw. In my mind, it doesn't mean I'm not raw. The time I will say I'm not raw is I did try coffee at the start of the year. And if I continued to have that, I would have said I'm high raw. I broke my toe. I spoke about trying coffee again. Or if I decided to get an oven put back in my kitchen and I start cooking, like I actually start cooking things, they're hot, they're in ovens, for me and my journey. Now, this is no other reason. I'm not like saying this is the way it is for people, but this helps me when people are like, that's not cooked. And I'm like, I just gave away a free recipe, but sure. Okay. And I say, my classification for me is where food is. And that's really what helps me mentally show up each day to comments, which I will be so for real. I don't get that many. That many, but I also stay out of the fruitarian monofruit juicing groups.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, I'm only in like raw living food group with like Tony, my group. I like to connect with people online who do like lots of varied raw foods. Yes.
And I think that's important, finding that connection. Like in the beginning, you might be jumping around because you don't know exactly what that is. But once you figure out what works for you, and also to bounce off of what you were saying, I try to say, I eat the max amount of fresh, whole, raw foods that I can. That's what it's all about for me. I'm filling my plate up with as many raw foods, and something raw, like if I'm eating nuts that I know, the quote unquote, they all have to be heated. That to me, I still consider that a raw food, because like you said, we're not putting it in a pan and actually heating it up, so there's different variations. But I think when we start to be really there's always going to be that exception. So when we start to try to worry about, this isn't raw, everything has to be exactly raw, all of a sudden we start focusing on what we can have, and instead of just the good things that we're putting in. And it's about putting in fresh nutrients, as much living healthy food as possible. And the standard of that, if you start to worry too much about the nuance, or not worrying about the nuance and worrying about black or white, like this is raw, this is not, then you can get in, and then people are all of a sudden arguing about what's raw and what's not, instead of, are we loving ourselves? Are we putting fresh whole foods as much as possible in our body?
Yeah, 100%. And I do think it's about what I have noticed in my life when I start judging people, not that I've ever really commented, but when I start in my own head judging other people, anytime I've had a blood test, I will see nutrient deficiencies come up. I for me, have noticed a correlation between my mental health and how I perceive people with an abundance of nutrition. And I'm very grounded, I'm very level, my perception of myself and others is quite strong. And I don't like to project onto other people that that's what is going on with other people. But anytime I've started to become highly wound up or highly anxious or highly judgmental, it's like something's missing in my life and I want others to suffer. Does that make sense? So it's like you're not allowed to eat that nut because I'm not allowed to eat that nut, even though some level of my body probably wants something in that nut. That's what I felt was happening to me. And then I'll go get blood tests, and then my blood sugars are high, my iron is low, my B12 is all right, my sodium levels were low. And most of the projection probably, I think, had been at salty foods. Like, when people are having miso, is that raw? Like, you just don't have it. Like, but it's a me thing. And when you can realize that when people are projecting, it's a they thing. My balance comes from having a very grounded, balanced, varied diet now. If I do start getting what I call my own version of lack, is it comes out as projection. So that's something else to be mindful is obviously whatever you want to do for raw, define it, high raw, whole food, plant-based, before you start posting online. So if anything comes up, but also just know that usually, like when my diet is going well, I don't really actually think I have to promote it. my actions should speak for what I do in my lifestyle. If, you know, me, I try, well, I don't try, I work more on love and gifting myself health through like movement and choices in food. I don't focus so much on blasting other people because it just makes me feel horrible and brings my whole soul down. I hope that people, when they say, what do? You seem like you've got things together. I'll be like, oh, well, this is what I do. I want my actions to speak. I don't need to blast as well. I feel like when you blast, you're kind of compensating. And once again, that's just my interpretation of what I've done in the past, coming from lack.
I completely agree. And I think we have to take out, like, I like to look at other people. I want everyone to be as happy as possible in their world, doing what it is that they do. And if I can be there to be a guide through that and to help you express your love for raw food, and it is just a little, it's a difference. But also we have to understand there are people who, maybe even are meaning well because they're so like, they're into what they have learned that very moment early on, and they're trying to project that out. So your strength in your mind and knowing that you are doing what is perfect for you, because we talk so much about the mental part of this. It's about really having fun and loving the raw food to stay with it. So
Yeah.
that's where you can try to, if you can move away from the negativity. If you see someone that's continuously being negative, that's the one good thing about social media, is you're not actually in the same room or have to work with them from day to day. So you can, just not go to that page or whatever, but it's going to come up. So you have to also have that strength of mind to know that I'm confident in what I'm doing, and know that there are communities who are very, encouraging too.
Yeah. Look, I'll give you guys an example. Probably the biggest example I've seen so far is when I just did my video with Jillian. And because the video's got such high amount of views, you get more comments. And there's conversation after conversation after conversation going on. How do you digest without a stomach? You can't eat without a stomach. I don't believe this. It's called a gastrectomy. Okay, take me out of the equation. It's called a gastrectomy.
Yeah, like,
And it
where are
wasn't
these
even
people
people. I
coming
think
from?
it wasn't even one. I think there was like one person who just didn't believe me personally, but it was a whole lot of people. And I think also before we decide to leave comments, because I said in the end, I was getting back and forth in conversations. At the end, I said, guys, it's called a gastrectomy. Just do a bit of research, like before we project, because you don't want to be a projector either. Just do a little research into these things, because as I said, if you take me out, a lot of it was, this can't happen, you can't do this, I can't imagine. And I'm just like, and it is from things where we see something and we react. So, and this obviously tells me a lot too, is that people react before they actually research. And this isn't changing how you're going to feel when people post these things, but be very mindful. People tend to see these videos, and if you don't have a healthy outlet, and if you've been very sick, you aren't able to get outside and ground in nature and get a lot of fresh air. So these type of people, and there's nothing wrong with that, I've been there, is tend to project more because it's like a venting process. So it's also something to be mindful of. I mean, telling them what a gastrectomy is education, is educating somebody. But I think what my biggest thing here is that people are just starting their raw journey and starting to post and copying it and feeling inundated, because like a lot of people say, I've been fruitarian for 17 years and blah, blah, blah. And that's great for them. That's their journey. But even Koala Mum is saying here she's healed, or maybe it was up higher, even things quite serious with high raw. Imagine taking that away from somebody as well. Like somebody's actually fixed their health with plant-based high raw, and someone's like, well, you're not good enough. That's the kind of thing that happens, right? You kind of feel
they don't know what it's like to be like at my age either. They don't know a woman who grew up how I did or ate what I did before, or what type of nutrient deficiencies I did or didn't have. Either way, there is not like a, the way that worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for me. And I think that's why we all have to, I believe we all have the same philosophy. We all believe in raw food, and we all believe there's general rules when it comes to our digestion. But like, to take someone who is, an 18-year-old fruitarian man and think that he may be able to know what I'm experiencing right now. That's why we have to be very, I guess what the word I'm looking for is really allow each person to be inspired the way that they need to be inspired with this.
Yeah, and speaking of that, is I have seen some men do extremely well on just fruit, like extremely well. And also, if you look at their past, just in my opinion, men, in their past, I have seen they have not had the ones that I'm thinking of have not had serious health problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen men do very well on fruit and having very small amounts of fruit, like Douglas Orville, I think that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Jillian was telling me he has quite a small amount of fruit, just one meal a day, and that's it.
Yeah.
But what I have seen is that's my interpretation, right? This is all just my interpretation, but I think Koala Mum has brought up the best point here. And this comes off what does make me sad. And she said, I guess I wish the Royal Police would just try before they judge to see what would happen if they didn't strictly adhere to the dogma. That is the biggest mind battle I feel I overcame, and now I'm in such a good space. But it's that sadness that comes up when we wish somebody might have a few bites of something and feel a bit better about not just themselves, but everybody around them. And that's hard too, because we keep our mouth shut, right? We might cop it from somebody who's telling us that we're doing it wrong, and we want to then go, hey, you should try this sometime. But
they're not ready to hear that.
Yeah, no, and that sometimes backfires.
And sometimes you have to live it, and you have to get to these places. It's, a lot of the things that we can tell you will help, but like, I think until you are raw for consistent time, it takes a minute to get to this comfort space, and be okay with who you are and where you are and what you eat. Because if you over researched or over analyzed it, sometimes it can get confusing. And I like to slow it down, and make it just coming back to about, hey, when I reach for this tastes good and it's healthy for me, and starting from there. And I think that really is how you have to go. Even if you've tried this 100 times and you felt like you did get discouraged once, where maybe someone said something to you, or you felt like, I don't understand, he's saying to eat nuts and she's saying to not eat nuts, and we're not supposed to eat this, or we're supposed to eat fruit. And it's like, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, the abundance of beautiful food out there. Go ahead and experience it and see where you feel at your best.
Yeah, I think also you're right. The majority of what I have every day is fresh, alive, living foods. And that when people attack, well, they could attack on anything, right? Is the raw argument comes in when you add your dressing in that has seeds or has a dried spice or something in it, which isn't primarily what people are having. It's just like extra flavor, which keeps us raw. Like, it's just that
it's the little bonus thing that's going to make it a little bit nicer mentally for you, right?
Yeah, and I think what's important is the reason I don't say I am just having a healthy, like I'm a healthy girl, I have a healthy lifestyle, I'm plant-based, is because I do want to drive people to raw foods. Like, the focus is, this conversation is more about all the things that get in that gray area, right? Or even raw foods, and there's too many oxalates, stop eating spinach, or what else? There's something, the skin is bad for get rid of your cucumber skin. There's anti-nutrients, and it's bad for digestion. Like, so there is, it goes on all different levels.
It's a cucumber. Let's just be clear. It's a cucumber.
Exactly. But I think that is why I will always, until I'm not raw, like if I'm on a stove cooking something, I'm not raw. But I will always say, because most of what I do and think about and eat and drink is just fresh living foods. And I like that when I am talking about it, that people are aware of that. Like it's
Yeah.
just something, because when I was doing raw most of the day and then I'd go back to the cooked food at night, is I couldn't get up. This is when I started healing. So for me at that point, it was like a huge difference. And I want people to understand there's so much value in knowing, because I didn't know what it was. I know, I mean,
Yeah.
I knew what fresh raw foods was, but I didn't know you could just eat it like it was a
Right. I
whole
had no
community
idea
going on.
for 42 years, right? Then I figured it out. But you can tell the difference, like, before, after, you're like, oh, that's why I felt like this before. And now I have so much energy. And even people who are, high raw and they add some more cooked food, they do feel like you said, you had it to a degree where you couldn't even get up. But some people maybe just feel that clarity's not there. Sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's energy. But the more fresh raw foods I add, it's so important to realize that difference. Like the highest amount you can go to, like if you're still transitioning, you will definitely feel the difference. And like you said, not talking about maybe a dressing here and there, but as much fruit and salads and vegetables that you can add, it definitely is such a beautiful thing. It's like it's a freshness that comes with the food. Like I had a plate of the blueberries and grapefruit, and like today I was just sitting there thinking, like, I would have never thought of this as a lunch when I was in my 20s. It was like I would have looked at that like, what is that? And now it's like the best thing I've ever seen. And when I'm getting excited, like right now, to go have my salads, like you do eventually get excited about it. But in the beginning, I think it's about putting as much as you can in and not almost saying, I can't ever touch cooked food again. That's why I love the way you do it too, Sky. You say, you know what? If it's something I end up wanting, I'm going to do it. It's like a delay type thing that you can do for your brain,
Yeah.
and not say, like, I could never touch a piece of raw food. I mean, cooked food. It's like there are healthy cooked foods, but we're just saying that raw is like up here
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. And I've been through all the different diets, so I
Yeah.
love that I'm very, very as high raw as I can get. I like that name that you
I've
have
got to
there,
be
high
more
on raw.
careful. I've got to be more careful when I speak. So we are talking about raw vegan, raw plants only. We're not talking about horses or fish.
Yes,
It's just, I
we're
think
raw
it gets
vegan.
so
I
we're raw. Hey MJ, that's what we're talking about. I just continually get shortened, but raw plant-based foods. And even when you think about my situation, when I talk, because so I say cooked foods, I couldn't get up, and many people would go, well, that's just not true. Well, of course it's not true for you, but do you know where I
Right.
was? I had like a functional neurological disorder. I had my stomach, duodenum, and top of intestines missing. My iron was absolutely tanked out because I damaged my liver. They couldn't infuse the iron that I needed. My body wasn't making proteins. I think I mentioned the FND. I had tachycardia. I was on stomach medication, hormone medication, pain medication, just come out of another psychiatric stint. I think when you have a body that broke, and if I drunk alcohol again, because I've been an alcoholic, how I damaged my liver, I bled from all parts of my body, like all holes in my body just started bleeding. I was so inflamed. And so can you imagine getting food through someone's system like that is near impossible. So once again, it's not, of course, everybody doesn't. My sister eats cooked food all day at work and she's not there, not getting up. But I think when there's different levels. And that's once again that example, which is like, it's your story. That's another thing really know what these foods and changes in your life do for you. That can help you stay where you are. Knowing what changed in my life when I started eating a raw plant-based diet is exponential, and that nobody can take away from me. A lot of what we battle is like only in a split moment. Do you know what I mean? So you read a comment and even know when somebody is writing a comment, their brain is processing multiple things. And then it goes off from online. There might be some heat there, so maybe they think about it for a bit, but then you are with you. the majority of a day. You know, when you open the fridge, it's just you. When you decide to go for a walk, it's just you. When you make a life change, it's just you. And when you know that, build confidence in the just you making those choices, so that when someone comes at you, you're very aware that they have no idea of all the just you choices you make every day to keep yourself healthy.
Yeah, and like I know for me, the back pain was gone, the weight loss that came easily with it, and the clarity and the energy, and those things that person there has not experienced. So to the point of someone in the comments said they shouldn't be commenting, but they do, and that's their truth at that moment, and they're not going to think about you possibly for the rest of the day. So don't let that deter you from continuing to go through the, continuing to enjoy your raw food lifestyle, because it's your journey. It's what goes into your body. You are what you eat, not what they eat. So it's just, I really think that's the part that we get so passionate about. I do, because I don't want anyone to leave this lifestyle or not continue to try it, and also not continue to try different ways. Like if you're not feeling your best and you're trying to follow a certain protocol of all fruit, and you think, you know what, I'm going to add a salad because that might be what you need at that moment to keep as many raw foods flooding in, because when you go back to the old way, you may never experience those things that we were able to experience, I guess is where I'm going with it.
I think this is an important conversation to have, just about when health and mental health deteriorates. So let me read this. There have been many times where I was strict for many months, and I've done this as well. And I think it's good to have an amazing experience, and I've had that too. But when someone's not doing well anymore, it's time to open up to change.
That's
now,
exactly, Koala.
This is why this is a really important conversation. Is what can happen is, just say when I go 2 years in, when I go 2 years into doing all fruits, you really consumed by only doing that, right? And this is from, push to the side that I've done grapes for 3 weeks and juicing for like 80 days and all of that, is when you've got this lifestyle created, sometimes you don't know you're doing badly. And I think that, like, I like to hold compassion for where sometimes we can see it, other people can see it. I mean, even when people, and I don't believe people have actually died from raw food, raw veganism. I believe people have an eating disorder, that where they're just not eating. If you eat calories, no matter what you're doing, you're really not going to be suffering as long as you're eating some food, okay? Some sort of food. You're not going to die of, like, these people look starved. But what's quite sad is, just like that, and just like when you're deep in it, because I've looked back at photos of me where I thought I was doing amazing. I look back now and I'm like, how did I not see it? How did I not see I wasn't doing too well? It's more obvious when I do like mono fruits or mono juices, because it happens very quickly, and I'll need to have a salad or some denser food and I start to balance out. But I think when you get roughly into it, like when you get deep into it, it can be hard for people to see. So I try and hold compassion there, but it does get hard if people are projecting, at us. So it says you can't digest vegetables. Amylase. I'm not going to get into this discussion on here. But
I have no instinct to eat raw meat. I have that principle that I guess I've learned in my mind that for me that wouldn't work. I don't care what nutrients you would ever tell me about it. I'm not eating that, and I don't
put a baby rabbit. Put a baby rabbit and an apple in a crib.
I have no instinct to go after a raw animal.
I've never seen a
baby. Thank you for that comment. That was like perfect timing for the comment.
The baby will play with the rabbit, and it will eventually chew and suck, because babies chew and suck to out their environment, and they're not going to chew and suck in and pull out blood. Plus, carnivores actually eat the blood-rich organs. They don't eat the flesh. They go for the jugular. They go for the arteries. So, but that's not a discussion we're having today. This isn't like a vegan carnivore argument there. This is just what we're doing here.
I eat lentils at certain points in time, like that I put on top of the salad. Is that what your question was, Michelle? What do you get warmed up when you're eating high raw? That like I try to like if I ever do it, I don't really steam a lot of vegetables, but I have steamed a little bit, I guess, frozen peas because they're not, I guess, one of those someone commented to me, they're not really raw, but even if I thaw them out. But so I would say for me, lentils and like peas or something that I can't chew without like processing it for me.
And definitely, if you're doing high raw, there's plenty of warm foods, right? Or hot foods you can have. But I love what Cara and Marcus said. So when you're served at a restaurant or when your mum makes you food or you make your own food, you may cook it at 250 degrees or 100 something degrees, but you actually eat it at about just above room temperature. No, I mean, you eat it warm. The palate can't take boiling hot food.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's really not very good for the I've learned too, is it the membranes like on your, it's almost like burning you when it's too hot.
Yeah.
And I know that's how we're taught, eat it as hot as possible.
Well, so you watch people, and even when it's really hot, they start to blow on it to cool it down. Mm-hmm. You're actually cooling it to a temperature you can eat it as a raw vegan. So if you want hot soup, I just get the Vitamix and blend it for 3 minutes. As steam cart starts coming up, I eat the blended sweet potato, garlic, a bit of chili, bit of basil, maybe coconut meat in it, and I'll eat it.
Good soup.
Yeah, and I've got them on my website. You can eat it at the same temperature you would eat hot soup. You don't eat hot soup boiling. And it's so warming. In winter, I'm a big soup girly. I would like tomato coconut basil, a Thai basil soup. You want soup, you can have it warm. If you want pasta, get your Vitamix once again, heat the sauce so it's warm, and then pour it over your zucchini noodles, and you've got a warming pasta. Or I know some people in Europe who put their curry, they'll make curry sauce, or they'll make the pasta sauce and they'll put the whole dish in the dehydrator, and you'll serve it warm, like quite warm, like if you take it out fresh and eat it. Pizza, you can make dehydrated pizza. You'll find most of the time, I don't know, when you first start, you might want this more often, but when you get into it, I prefer just eating quite lightly. But there are definitely days in winter. I eat different in summer to winter. Summer, I just crave all the seasonal hydrating fruits. It gets quite hot here. As winter comes, you watch my recipe reels just take off. There's 3-ingredient bread. There's 2-ingredient wraps. Yeah. I've made a new pizza recipe.
I love it. And we're opposite right now. We're in winter.
Yeah, so you guys are getting bombarded.
Like we have to go back and you have to reshare those videos from last year, right? I was like, give me all the winter stuff, right? But yeah, that's definitely. I really have that goal for 2026, even though I teach the simple fruit and salad, formula type thing. I do have the goal to try some of these recipes. So I'm like, if Sky can make if she gives me a recipe that tastes good, I'm definitely going to be sharing it and giving her all kinds of credit on her page.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just going to remove this person who's still going on about, this is not a carnivore. There's plenty of carnivores out there speaking, so you need to find somewhere there.
Yes, like what?
I'm happy for people to share their opinion but not keep blasting. So
is it
so what I did is, I am someone who I created, I knew what raw did to me, and I had to create a raw lifestyle. I know if I did, even when I work with people, unless people are stage 3 and 4 in a disease, like really acute and need some sort of protocol to fix that, you are so much worth finding a lifestyle that works for you, because you're going to be the idea is we do this for life, right? There's no way for life you can just eat just fresh food straight off the bat. You can go into and I always say this, go into 10 days on fruit or a bit of juice, but what do you go back to? Like, what do you go back to? And I had this really good analogy with Marabella, where Just say you get someone from Europe come over to Australia and they've been in the darkness for 9 months. You know, they don't get any sun, like an hour of sun a day. And they come over to Australia and they see all of us blonde and tanned. You know, we've been in the sun every day, can probably do, Australia's sun is brutal, but we can probably do, you know, I don't know, anywhere from like an hour, 2 hours, you know, mid-morning, where we're all good. And just say someone from Europe comes over, they're white, never seen the sun, and they're like, I want that. I want to be, you know, that. And they go out and they burn. Okay, they burn, they get blisters. It's the same when you go raw vegan. So it's, if you go straight over to raw veganism and throw yourself into juicing and water fasting, okay, you'll burn yourself and you won't like the sun or the raw food. It's not doing you good. You're better off, this European comes over, a little bit of sun, a little bit more of sun, you know, maybe put some long sleeves on and they start to feel the effects of the sun. They connect to the sun.
Find what you like, right?
Yeah, but just like do little bits and find your way to manage it, because otherwise I just feel like long term none of these things actually teach you anything. They're more about, I can't have this, I can't have this, I'm pushing through, these are all my demons coming out, this is all detox. You haven't learnt anything. All the learning comes from falling down, getting back up, being raw, maybe falling off raw, coming back on, and you learn this process. You're like, you know, I keep falling off, I'm going to need something denser. Maybe I sit at high raw for now. And you work and you're like, I'm liking potatoes, this is good for me right now. And just finding ways for you to cope, I think, is just so important.
I completely agree.
Like, so, like, it's
like,
one of the,
if you start something, why not make it realistic right from the beginning? And then later on, if you want to do 30 days on a watermelon or a juice or something, that would be more realistic at that point, after I had been eating mostly raw food, right? I didn't come into it like that. And I think that's why I always think, would I have ran away if I was like struggling on day 6 of like just a juice? So who knows, right? But everybody's got to do their own thing. But I completely love that. Like, make it fit in, you know, trial and error type thing.
Well, I mean, look at John. I can't think of his last name right now. Bordis, I think. He goes out with Dulce. They're a raw vegan couple. Okay. So I don't think John's in the public eye very much anymore. But when I knew John before I knew Dulce, because John did 260 days on juice. But you know, John, for years, I think 10 years, juiced every morning, and he was high raw, and he got to a point where he liked the feeling and felt a calling to experience what it'd be like. And he was going to do 30 days and it turned into that. But it was like 10 years of juicing every day. Wow. And the other thing about when you commit to yourself like that and you get the experience, you are so proud of yourself and so grateful for all the work you've done. Like, as much as quick gratification is what we've learned in society, is like these quick hits of dopamine. I swear, my example of this was when I started walking, when I'd had FND and I got up and I'm walking every day, and I'd walk 4 to 7 kilometers every day until a year and a half in I could run. I didn't run the whole way, but I ran some of it, and there's tears. I've actually got the video of me. Like, I'm like, I worked every day so that one day I could get back to something I loved, which was running. And I really love my running, but it doesn't mean that I could have ever skipped the walking. You know, it's like, you can't, you've got to walk before you run.
Coming out later on tonight. I'm almost done with it. And it's called The Hidden Stage of Raw Vegan. And that's that stage that you're talking about, the one that we don't really see. Like, when we look at, and maybe we can do a podcast on it too, so we can discuss it. But it's like, there's, like, you see the people that are vibrant and we're all eating this fruit and salads and everything's great. And then, but you never saw that time where they were going through that period of time where they did juice and then they went off and they went completely to cooked food, and then they didn't feel good and they went high raw and it wasn't as easy, but then they went back to juice and then they went back to this and they tried a different diet, and then it's like, oh, I went high raw, and then I'm like, oh, I realize everything feels better when I'm raw, you know. And it's like, there's a bunch of stuff that, not with everybody, everybody. Some people just get really lucky and go right into it and never look back. But there is, even within raw vegan, a trial and error of how you fit into raw vegan. Like, you realize you can't just eat only fruit maybe, or you put more omegas in your diet as you get like a little bit older, like I have. I wasn't eating hardly any fat, and then I ate too much fat, and then now, like, I had to cut down to 4 dates a night. Don't tell Dawn, I'm just kidding. That's not those kind of dates. I had to do it again. But like, like you find something you really like walnuts or something, and then you overeat them, and that's part of that learning experience. Like, you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's like a kid. A kid gets a brand new Christmas present, like a brand new bike, right? And they do not get off the bike. The parent has to call them in at night. They want to sleep with the bike. A year later, they don't even care about the bike, or they hardly use the bike, or they want a new bike. It's the same thing. It's the way the brain works. So when you start having new things, don't always worry that it's an addiction. Wait for your I call it the burnout. Wait till you've overeaten it enough that your body relearns, because you haven't had all these. If you go very high and start adding things back in, being there, is you will overeat until you learn, your body gets over that like initial dopamine, because it hasn't had it in so long. And I call it like a burnout period. Don't be like, okay, walnuts are bad. You go, walnuts are bad, I'm stopping them. And you go back and you overeat, and it goes back and forth until you kind of have scattered amounts of walnuts. I also wanted to say about the raw vegan police is, I think what really upsets people the most, and it's not that
show up here.
Well, what I wanted to say is that when people post, I post a lot of my content ends up being, well, I do my absolute best. But if you're a content creator and that's what you do, a lot of it isn't always my best work. I try, some days are better than others is what I'm saying. But when people are new to this, usually when they post, they're very proud of like one picture that they've posted. That's maybe their first or their fifth. A lot of effort and time goes in, a lot of rechecking of the caption. So it's like real heart and soul, which is like, I wish, as much as I try, I try to put my heart and soul into all of it. But when you've been doing this a longer time, you also get used to it, I guess. But what I'm saying is, someone might put out one post a month or every couple of weeks, and a lot of effort goes in. And when you tear someone down, it is like tearing at their heart. And I'm just making you guys aware of it, that it is, I say do it anyway. I just say do it and surround yourself with people who resonate with you.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody gets to you too much, we're always here to talk to, right?
Oh, they're gonna say build them up. We're here, we'll give them, we'll tell them what to do.
I mean, like every now and then there's something funny, I'll have to screenshot it and share it with you, or one of the other. I'm like, sometimes I can't even, it's funny. You have to almost learn to have humor in it, right? But you do even focus on it.
Guys, I send them love.
Out of comments of those popular, I've told you this before, I just stopped going in the comments of posts that are in public groups, because it's just the things I see, I'm like, I don't even know.
So I posted, it was one of my old post reels, which is taken off again. And it's the one I got really frustrated when I actually made the post, because I was doing more TikToks back then. And this is a TikTok video. I posted it on YouTube, but it's a couple years back. And it's just me when I would eat at night in my kitchen. A lot of it's like, I made my raw vegan salad, I'm eating this. And there's, I think, music playing behind. This is my fight song. I think that's what's playing behind. And I'm like, guys, I just want you to look at a photo of me before I went raw vegan. And no, so this is when I was eating like paleo, and I'm eating my salad. And then I'm like, this is me vegan. And I'm like, this is me raw vegan. And you make your choice. You get a whole lot of varied comments. But one of the ones that came up this week was someone said, how dare you say you're raw vegan? Veganism has nothing to do with your health, and just went on a tirade. And I just,
you can be raw and vegan. Like,
well, yes, but also then I do what Ted Carr does, because Ted Carr just usually agrees with people when people go on big rants. If you see his comments, he'll go, yes.
Great. I love it.
I agree. I just went, yes, this, sending you love. And the person wrote back, okay.
Like, sometimes you, like, I have, like, say sometimes to people when they'd say something, I'd say, you know, I used to think that too until blah, 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 blah. And like sometimes that actually works because they're looking for a fight sometimes, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
a
yeah, I
challenge.
feel
And I'm
that.
just there to educate, you know, but not in a way that's, you know, judgy. But if I need to defend my own self, maybe I would. But it's like sometimes you just don't even feel like getting into battles with people who've already kind of made up their mind. I similar to you, I had I think it was the one of the raw vegan groups in the very early, you know, they say introduce yourself, tell us who you are. And I shared that picture that's on a lot of my stuff,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
before and after, because I was like so proud of it, right? And then of course I had one lady come underneath and comment and like, oh, I think you look better with more weight on you. And I'm like, did you get the point of the before and after? Like, where can you read the room here? I'm proud of the after picture. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that, but I feel
Sometimes
a
that's
lot
what I do.
healthier without the back pain and all the stuff that went along. So I appreciate you. You know, it was a compliment in some way, but it was still the wrong thing to say in that moment when I'm sharing a before and after. I didn't really ask like, which one do you think you'd like better if you were to see
I
me
see
on the
that on
street?
I see that on Freely's posts as well. Is like Freely will post her two pictures and she's like, you know, I got rid of like insulin resistance and acne and depression and I had binge eating. And then people just comment underneath, they're like, oh, I liked you before. And it usually is about the person, right? It's usually about them making whoever's commenting feel more comfortable with where they're at. And if you feel healthy at that weight, then that's fine. But
Yeah.
it's like this person's just told you all these different health things. So what I like to say to people is when it comes to like, I don't know exactly where I'm about to go with this, but bear with me here, is we can perceive somebody as like they can see us as bad when we're actually not bad. Okay. So, you know, we're doing something that's different and it's just
Yeah, it's
outside the
different.
box. It's just, and it just makes somebody, you know, we're stirring. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I know how I wanted to say this. Okay. So when people attack, it's usually we're thinking that's just how the person is or it's about us. But usually a situation goes along like this. So I used to think of it, I studied psychology. So most people in jails are not actually what the monsters we think they are. So, you know, you think of a lot of people in jail as murderers, and most murderers aren't what we think they actually are. And I'll give you an example is just say someone's had their girlfriend move in with them and the girlfriend's just not really going to work. She's not picking up her slack. And the husband keeps going to work and he's working longer hours. He's paying for the rent. He's doing everything. Okay. Anyway, one day he's at work and he's left early and the girlfriend's not up again yet. Anyway, he goes off to work and he gets sick at work. And he comes home and the girlfriend is sleeping with his best friend. So he walks in and this girlfriend who he's already picking up the slack for is sleeping with his best friend. The reaction of a human is to feel emotion and will more likely feel so much emotion. They, especially being a man, testosterone is usually expelled at a high level. They'll want to punch something, run somewhere. You'll feel fury, right? And us as animals used to run, you know, run away from lions when something scared us, gave us big emotion, but you're stuck with it, right? More than likely, this person's going to pick up something close out of frustration and out
Right.
of anger, just throw it. Just be like you, whatever comes out of his mouth, because he's had a bad day. Things haven't been going well with the girlfriend, and threw it really hard, right, at the person, and it ends up slitting across someone's eye and killing the best friend. Okay. Now, this is a totally made up situation, but what I want you to understand is this is most of what happens with people who end up in court systems and jail and things. It's not premeditated psychopathic like we like to watch on the. I don't like to watch it, but people like to imagine these serial killers where they're
Those
obsessed with their.
shows.
It's usually emotionally charged like this, right?
And
And it
and the
wasn't even that the intent was there, it's that he was so angry he just like it's an instant, right, that you do something. And what I'm trying to get at here is when people project at you, they've more than likely had their tire go flat, they've walked home in the rain, they haven't eaten yet, and then they see a comment about how someone should be eating raw food and they whoosh,
and
straight at you.
that's also, I was going to say, that really good point that you were making is we don't always see the core emotion we see the
True.
projected emotions. So like that anger or, making fun or whatever it is, like somewhere along the line, that what he really felt when he saw his friend sleeping, or his, girlfriend sleeping with him, was hurt and betrayal, and it projected as anger too. So like you said, it's always something inside the person, or maybe they don't, like you said, maybe they don't have any food, maybe they can't even afford a raw food or something.
Yes.
So I see,
But that
it's
is, I
easy
just
to
wanted to
make
come,
that.
it can be, yeah, a lot easier to come at people when they are yelling at us. And I always like to think we don't actually know what is behind
Mhm.
all of that.
That's
So
really
I
good.
also think, Koala Mama, is we heal when we realize, like when we projected at somebody or we've said something. I'm a big person who, if I ever project or get angry at someone, I usually within about a 2-week period will come in and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm usually going through something. But also I will say, when I have like fats and more minerals in my body, I'm more buffered or protected against the world. I felt when I did all fruit, it was like I was like burning. Like I wasn't able to regulate as well. And that's just what was happening in my body. And I feel like now where I'm at, where I have some greens and fats, they like slow. It's like I feel like what the omegas do for me, and we're talking about putting things in and out, and I'm like, do I want oil in? But if I use the seeds, they're very heavy on the gut. Do I want the oil in? Every time I stop flax oil, everyone's seen it, I end up sick. I end up with like 3 days off. I don't do any work, and then I put it back in and I do well. And then I'm like, oh, oil's bad. I shouldn't do oil. There's a full battle going, but that's my battle. That's not even research isn't going to teach me anything new about what
Yeah.
I need to know. So
And
we're all
sometimes
going through
that,
different
even
things.
when we feel better, we still have those ingrained principles that we learned when we first came in or read to this lifestyle that won't allow us to just enjoy that food, because it's like, no, I'm not supposed to be eating it, somewhere in there, right? Like, I totally understand, but ultimately it's about, being the healthiest as we possibly can, mentally and physically, I think I've learned.
Yeah, I really liked this topic. I think it was worth talking about. I also have seen in my group someone brought up a topic about the cost of food, and I've seen all different costs. Interesting, Australia and Canada seem to be very expensive. We both, Australia and Canada, are very same in Australia in their dollar,
Yeah.
and also it's just interesting where people have found different ways of doing it. And some people like me, where they're like, it's my health. That's how I see it. The reason I think it's important is it's all about perception. So that might be something that we can
Yeah, like
talk on as well. Because
the
I know,
budget raw or something.
I know if I don't spend enough money, I start to not like it. Like if I don't treat myself in that area, and also I see it because I don't drink alcohol and I let go of vaping and smoking, and I don't buy clothes very often unless, excuse me, I need them. I like that choose this area to look after myself in. But like I think it's just a good topic for people in different situations, because there are ways you can do it cheap if that's what you want to do, or you want to spend more money. So I have a complex about being underweight. It's so interesting, and this thing we talk forever. It reminds me of when you hear some people, because the beauty standards for periods of time have been voluptuous women, and then they're coming back. The skinniness is all coming. I grew up in the 90s where skinny was like, skinnier the better, and then it's all coming. The skinny with the Ozempic's all coming back in. It's all perception, right?
Definitely. It's like, the quick fixes, and it's definitely interesting, and our perception of what we're supposed to look like, in
That's
our own mind.
That's right. But I
Thank you,
love you
Wanda.
all. Thank you, Yad, Koala Mama, Wanda. Who else? Hi on Raw, Michelle.
Yes,
Who
Koala, we
else?
said, Uncaged Heart Coaching. Thank you. I don't think I got to say hi out
Oh,
loud. That's Marakita.
you
And then
sorry.
Laurie, yep. I think we talked to her, MJ, and everyone. Oh, Juliet, 8463. Man, we had so many people join today.
Yes, I
Jules
think it
and
was the
Wanda. I
topic.
was like, I love that. Thank you all
Yeah.
so much for being here. It makes it so fun when we have a lot of interaction. I love it.
It does. I was just going to touch quickly on, do you eat potatoes and corn raw? Corn is beautiful raw. In fact, the fresher you can get corn, you've still
You can
got.
find on the cob. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but fresh corn within 3 days becomes quite starchy. Like, so if you can get fresh corn on the cob and you've picked it, it's actually sweet. Like, it tastes like it's soft like butter because it's got lots of sugars in it. And then the longer it's off the tree, the starchier it gets. So, but no, I love raw corn, especially when I like
it better now.
Yeah, it's beautiful. As for potatoes, sweet potato I do quite often in winter in soups or in like curries, as in like it's like a base for a sauce. But as for white potato, the only time I've used white potato raw was when I grated it very finely and put it as part of a like raw patty I put into the dehydrator. But it doesn't add much value.
Like a chemical, I don't know if this is accurate because I don't eat raw corn. I mean raw potatoes. But isn't it like I read that you can cook like sweet. I mean, you can eat raw sweet potatoes, but not yams, maybe, or something. And then the white potatoes you're not supposed to eat raw. But I don't really know if that's accurate. So maybe we should you could research it. But I've heard of people eating them raw, but I'm not sure if it's like what the deal is with it.
So I know Lissa's kind of, I think, on the same page. I have seen that you shouldn't eat potatoes raw, but it kind of, to me, falls into this like raw police type thing. Like, what do we know is real, right? It gets to this point where everything has this negative connotation. My biggest indicator of not eating something is when it's, it doesn't taste good, or it's not serving. I don't
really like them.
Like, you bite into the potato and you're like, you know what? I don't really like this. To me, that's like you just don't eat it again. Like, so that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't think there's much value to eating. Like, it's too hard to digest.
In a low.
Yeah, I would steam it if you want to steam it. But what I did was I grated some of it. It wasn't much. It might have been like half of one in just to add more texture. It gave nothing. It gives nothing in raw. Yeah, it gives nothing. Oh, sweet potato gnocchi and pumpkin gnocchi I've done raw. That's good. I still like sweet potato. Lots of people in Dr. Brooke Goldner's group eat the raw sweet potato chips. Like, they just cut up sweet potato and dip it in guacamole. I wouldn't do that. That's not a me thing, but each to their own.
Yes.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you.
All right, guys. We will be back next week. We'll try and find another fun topic, another real topic. Keep the conversation going.
That's right. We're going to go back to our running from the raw vegan police. I'm going to go running to the kitchen for myself.
I might just put a little siren underneath from now on. When someone comments something, I might just drop a little police siren and just leave it.
That's a good idea. Like a cucumber and a siren.
Police siren trend. Like, it's just like the alarm's gone off and just leave it.
Inside joke. Only all of us will know what it is. Right?
That's right.
It's like, that would be actually a good way to cope with it, because it would take the emotion out of it and be like,
and I'd have a bit of a
siren.
Yeah. I might do that, actually. I'm going to try it a couple of times.
Thank you. Appreciate you all. Thank you, Sky, for having me.
You're welcome.